Okay, let's move on to the next team, and that is Aston Martin. Now, Rafa, of course, you're a massive Alonso stan. Been rocking with him since his Minardi days and whatnot.
Come
As you do
on,
understand.
come on. Come on.
So of course he's in his 20th season, whatever it is now in F1, which is pretty remarkable in terms of longevity. So of course when he moved to Aston, it was a big massive shock. Like no one expected it, not even Alpine themselves. Apparently Alonso was out in Greece, toes out, sipping pina colada, whatever, going on do not disturb. And you got Alpine belling him, like, yo, like, what's all this about? Because they only found out on social media themselves, fair enough. And Alonso was just like, I ain't answered you niggas.
Exactly.
Nah, I mean, I ain't answered you lot. You know what I'm saying?
Them was when you pull the sickie and your man just calling, you're not picking it up. No way. You're not
you let it, you watch it ring and then you're just like, nah, I'm not answering that shit. Yeah. So of course he's now moved to Aston Martin on I think it's a 2+1 deal. So placed the advertised Sebastian Vettel. So what is your expectations for Aston Martin for this coming season? Because as we know, they started out in the first half of the season quite poorly, to be fair. And people trying to like mask them as like the worst team on the grid, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But second half, after some break, they started cooking. At times they even competed a bit with Alpine and McLaren a little bit. Pace-wise. So, what is your now expectations going in for Aston Martin, and how far do you think Alonso can take this team?
I think this year it's about transitioning from the lower half of the midfield to now arguing with the top half of the midfield. That's where we're looking. We're looking to argue with McLaren, argue with Alpine, even though the engines are a bit moody, we'll still argue with them in it. But anyway, like, I think this year, there's been a lot of hype, people talking about, trying to argue with the top three. I think that's way out of, bounds. I think, getting them P6s, P7s regularly for Aston Martin is what we want. And also, last year, even the second half, even though the race pace was good, the quality pace wasn't there. And that's one thing that Aston Martin need to work on. The quality pace was a big problem. And even the strategies in quality was a big problem. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, them back end of the top 10 points regularly. If Stroll can do his piece as well, then that'd be great as well. And I think you know what Alonso does, isn't it? What machinery is in, that guy is gonna drag that to the highest possible position. And even at the age of 40, yes, we've got a recruit in it. See, he knows. Even at the age of 41, he's one of the best drivers in the grid. We saw that last year, the great drives, second place in qualifying, Canada, the Brazil GP, comeback, US GP comeback. The guy still brings out classics at this age. So we're expecting a solid position in the midfield, maybe even finishing fourth in the constructors. And Alonso just doing his thing. And Stroll staying out of his way in it. Stay out of the way.
I mean, yeah, that's the key thing. Will Stroll stay out of his way? Because he definitely didn't stay out of his way in Kota. And if that incident didn't happen, then Aston would have probably finished sixth in the constructors as well, and that would have been apparently another 12 million. But don't worry, Daddy's money can cover that. So we're aware of that still.
We'll take the CFD time in it. Don't worry, we'll take that. We'll take the CFD time.
It's a big brain moment. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's the big brain moment. More win time, not more money. We already got money. We ain't no brokies.
Exactly. We're not McLaren in it. McLaren out here on the streets begging for peace. We're not that. We got class in it.
Yeah, trying to play for CFD parts of like Klarna. Nah, he's on that sticky one still.
Bro, we're raising money through fucking Lando streams and stuff. And it's merch.
You man got debt collectors outside your factory working.
The bailiffs are trying to get in.
Yeah, like pay now. Man's got summons from. That's crazy.
No wonder Saddle dipped. He said, "Fuck that." Ruin my credit score. Shit.
Yeah.
So okay. So in terms of the driver lineup, then, so of course there's a bit of how to put it, a quality disparity between the two. So if we're under the assumption that Alonso maybe beats Stroll, so I guarantee he did get beat by Ocon, regardless of context or not. Would there be a cause for concern if that was to happen for 2 seasons in a row? If Stroll was to beat Alonso over a season, or could that be the case of, okay, it's a great car, Stroll's got the most out of it, he stepped up a bit, Alonso maybe unlucky with X, Y, and Z, whatever. So what's your thoughts on
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for Alonso to fall off the cliff. You know, they're waiting for him to slow down. It'll be a cause concern if he does beat him on an outright pace. That's so I'd be like, yo, not only to step up, or maybe time to put down the gloves and chill in Mallorca or something like. But I don't see that happening until the season. I think last season you all know why Alonso finished by knock-on. The guy had a car that didn't have an engine for most of the race. And okay, Ocon had his DNS too, but when you're having like problems, literally, I think he had problems like 18 of the 23 races or something crazy like that, which is crazy. Like, it might not DNF, but you definitely had a problem. So, as long as you give him a reliable car, I think Alonso beats Stroll. But again, if Stroll does something, if he finds that pace, credits to Stroll, man. He's doing his thing. He's finally, he's not a paid driver anymore. We'll see. I want Stroll to do well, of course, but I don't see him being Alonso. I just think that's far-fetched, because Ocon is actually a good driver. Like, I have rated him for a minute, even when he was at the racing point with the pink Force Indias and that. He was doing his thing, innit? So I did kind of rate him. But Stroll, if he beats him, it's just not looking good, but it won't happen.
Okay. Let's watch the space.
Nah, it won't happen.
So in terms of hey, know what I mean? F1's a funny place, bro. You get me? So, but in terms of Aston Martin, just to stay on them, going into the upcoming season, what do you think if they were to stay on this current trajectory that they're on and maybe even get better? What do you think is realistically the highest place constructors-wise they could get? And what would be the lowest to you that would be deemed acceptable?
Well, I think the lowest is 6th. That's the absolute lowest. I think maybe 6th. Because we don't want them to regress. We don't want to go backwards. 6th is, it's actually a little bit of improvement. One place higher than they finished, although it was level on points with Alpha. I think the highest, I think 4th. Get 4th this season. It's a top 4 team. It's a Champions League thing this season, isn't it? That's what you want. Yeah.
Newcastle.
Milan, exactly. Milan probably ain't going to get top 4. But if Aston Martin get top 4, that's more than enough, isn't it? So I think top 4 exactly. That's what we're looking, top 4. And yeah, the way to do that is then P6s and P7s. That's what you want. P6s and P7s. Not P45s, P6s and P7s. That's what we need, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the aims. Listen, if we can nick a podium here or there, we'll take that. And listen, I'm going to be brave in it. Alonso will get 1 podium this season. He will get 1 podium this season. So I don't know where he's going to pull out from, but he'll get it. That's what I'm going to say. He's going to get 1 podium this season.
Damn. Is that your prediction, yeah?
That's a prediction. We'll come back to that. Today is February the 5th. We'll come back to that at the end of the season.
All right. Okay. Laurence, do you have any thoughts on Aston Martin into the season coming up? Like, what are maybe your expectations? Do you think they'll challenge McLaren maybe at some point, or no?
I think Alonso will. Stroll seems to have a hard time arguing with his engineer as opposed to anything else. Is that guy still working with him? Because that's what. To be fair, you see, you see these lots when they come on, when the F1 do their top 10 radios. This guy is just always arguing. It's like a marriage. Is he still working with him?
I'll check. Listen, I'll check the payroll on Monday. I'll see if he's still on there. I'll check.
How do you like? It just makes
I
me
mean,
laugh.
apparently he's got a promotion. I'm not.
How is that guy got a promotion? That guy is.
Yeah.
If that was my engineer, oh my god.
Mike Crack might be on cocaine, fam. I need to chat to him quickly. He can't be higher. He can't be giving that guy. He can't be giving him a promotion.
That guy sounds paying to do his job, bro. Fair play. If he's got a promotion, boy, I'm getting to my manager first thing tomorrow morning, bro. I'm there.
You know what that dynamic is? It's like, you ever had a teacher that doesn't rate you in it? It's supposed to help you. You put your hand up in class. It's like, oh, mess gonna happen.
And he sends you straight out as soon as you turn up.
Yeah,
Come in.
That's what the dynamic is.
Straight. Yeah,
that's
the bit. I was wondering if Alonso would have got him as engineer, because I was just thinking that is going to be. That's what I'm pinning my hopes on. But I think
we need the guy from 05, man.
I think Alonso, obviously, when I'm looking at Lando and Alonso, to me, I'm not going to say similar category. It's disrespectful to Alonso, but I think they're trying to do the same thing for their teams. So where I'd see Lando trying to sneak a podium here and there, if he messes up, Alonso is probably going to be the one that goes and gets it. So I think he's got to consistently try and finish ahead of Alonso. Wherever that will be good enough, I think, based on where McLaren are probably going, and obviously Aston Martin got a lot more funding. So I would just say, as long as we finish ahead of Aston Martin, it's a success, to be honest. But obviously Alonso's got a very personal thing with McLaren, so I think that alone would probably drive him. But obviously, and I think they've had a good few battles last year as well. I think Austria, I recall, being one. So
there's quite a lot of them, Austria, Silverstone, even Zandvoort.
Yeah, they seem to have a good level of respect for each other. I think Alonso respects Lando's talent, and vice versa. So to me, it'd probably come down to obviously the second drivers, in which case we don't really know what Piastri is going to produce. So it's hard to say. So I'd probably actually measure him not so much against. Obviously, you measure him against his teammate, but I'd obviously look to how Stroll performs against Alonso, because I think the skill gap is probably fairly similar between Lando, Piastri, and Alonso and Stroll. So as long as you finish ahead of them, I think it's a success for us.
Cool. Kwame, do you think there's a possibility that Alonso may butt heads for Stroll this season?
I would not be surprised. Maybe not this season, but definitely down the line in their partnership for sure. Alonso has been a guy everywhere he's gone. It's been one of his biggest faults, one of his biggest traits. Everywhere he's gone, he's kind of burned bridges. And it's not as bad as people make out to be, but it's not a good thing either. But I mean, listen, Alpine, we all thought it was rosy until towards the end where he had butt heads with Ocon. McLaren obviously butt heads with Honda. Renault was the only team where it was kind of okay. And obviously McLaren before that butt heads, Hamilton's got. Everywhere this guy goes, it turns to carnage, man, at the end. And Quality's such a passionate guy. He's a guy who wants the team to do well. Maybe comes across the wrong way. And Stroll being a very rash driver is a good way to put it. Stroll, just kind of calamity, chaos. Club and crash merchant, but we don't say much about him because he doesn't do well in the races. Mr. Doesn't check his mirrors. It can definitely come across the wrong way. You have to remember as well, his dad owns the team as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some decisions that Stroll gets or some treatment that Stroll gets that, previously that Alonso won't get. Listen, you have Stroll's dad. The whole reason, he brought Aston Martin in the end was because he had beef with the Frank Williams and McLaren at the time. He wanted to put more control, more stake, and more in the team. Didn't get that. He bought Racing Point. So actually, should I say bought Force India at the time? So it wouldn't surprise me if down the line there's some sort of issue between the two. Maybe not this season, but next season for sure.
I think that's something I was thinking of. So if you look at where Alonso's been as well with every team, he ends up falling out with the engine supplier. So if you look at, he's had issues with Mercedes in the past, with McLaren. He had issues, obviously, with the Renault. And again, obviously, last year. So obviously, the Mercedes engine, while it was reliable last year, but Aston Martin had a few DNFs as well. So I'm wondering if that Mercedes engine isn't particularly great, given he's got a 2+1 contract, and you've got Honda who are hanging around. They haven't got a team for 2026, but I'm aware that they're actually still hanging around. What might happen with Aston Martin? I wonder if, because Aston Martin obviously effectively are tied to Mercedes, they can't really go and get another supplier because they are owned by Mercedes. So I wonder if that starts to go a bit iffy, if the engine isn't as strong as obviously the Honda currently, what do you actually see out his contract? Because Alonso starts quick. As soon as that engine don't perform, he's on the blower. So that would be my one worry, probably my one hope, obviously, as a McLaren fan. But then obviously they share the same engine, so obviously if it doesn't benefit for Aston Martin, it's not going to benefit us either. But Lando obviously won't call it out in comparison. So that would be my concern for Aston Martin. I think 2 to 3 years, if they're trying to progress, obviously.
I mean, yeah, because with the new factory coming along, you know, and Aston Martin have got aspirations, of course, challenging for titles and stuff like that. Of course, it doesn't, apart from maybe Red Bull, you can't really have aspirations of being the top dog if you have if you're a customer team, basically. To be honest, because Mercedes, just to spy engines, because you know they get X amount of money back and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're not really there to help Aston Martin in the sense of, oh, we're going to help you achieve your dreams and aspirations. Like, look at Man City and Arsenal. Like, who the fuck selling Zinchenko and Gabi Jesus would turn into this? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, imagine if Toto gave away, because obviously some personnel has already left from Mercedes to Aston Martin anyway, and the same with Red Bull to Aston Martin. If he gives away the wrong person, well, not gives away, sorry, but if the wrong personnel, it's kind of double negative here. So if the right personnel at Mercedes leave to go to Aston Martin, and they're the key decisive figures to help Aston Martin challenge for top honors, if you will, and then Toto's still in charge of Mercedes, and they're like doing what they did last year, then everyone's going to be looking at Toto crazy, like, rah, you got rid of my man, and my man, and now look at Aston Martin, but we're supplying engines to them. So what the fuck's going on? So it's like, it's a sticky one, because it's funny, because Honda, yeah, they've signed up for the engine regulations 2026.
Yeah.
But they're still sort of like doing peekaboo with Red Bull and shit like that at the moment. So it would be interesting if Aston Martin can maybe get Honda on like an exclusivity sort of thing for 2026 onwards. I think that would be quite good, to be fair, because you've got to think about it. As at the moment in time, there's going to be 6 engines to come 2026 and 10 different teams, maybe more. So you're talking about each engine is only going to go to like maybe 2 teams max, maybe 3. So you kind of want like that partnership with an end supplier. You kind of need to leave Merck eventually. They can't be with them forever.
Yeah, they can't.
But I don't see how, because obviously if you go just slightly out of F1, but Aston Martin is literally owned by a Mercedes. So Aston Martin literally exists to supply Mercedes. So if you think of obviously, Honda, you could have Honda come in as obviously engine supplier, but the amount of money that they would have to pay to probably break away from Mercedes they have the money clearly, but
I think
they're in a sticky situation. They're in a sticky situation. Obviously, if you look at like Williams may have Porsche, so they may end up getting out of Mercedes, but they've got an easier way out. They're not linked to Mercedes outside of that engine, whereas Aston Martin are by brand, by engine, by staff. So I do worry if that Mercedes, they want to get to that point, they may, I don't know. I can't even imagine how they would stick with Aston Martin brand and still stay.
Yeah.
With getting Honda in, for example.
I think the only similar scenario where it's not exactly the same is obviously when you had Mercedes and McLaren. When at that time, that's the only time where I've seen where you've had like a the works team actually being worse than the supply team, and they're like that's the only time I've ever seen it. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. But surely they must have had this conversation internally before all this has happened. Like, surely there must be some people common sense in there saying, "Yo, I know like you supply engines in it, but we're actually trying to beat you in it in the long run. Like, you know is that cool? Somebody should have given the okay in it."
I mean, hey, listen, it can happen. Look at us, man. Look at Team Anston. We've had the period when we were Lotus, we had Mercedes engines. Believe 2014, the season before we got bought by by Renault. We had Mercedes engines. Heck, even though the period as well when Red Bull were cooking 09 to 13, Renault was still about. Renault Lotus was still about. We were technically the works team, but Red Bull were the faster team. So I know one F1 ain't gonna happen, but it can happen because we've been the team must have pulled up and these men have been bowlers for time. At Burton days as well, these men were dry ass when it can happen. But I do get Lawrence's point in the fact that the road engines for Aston Martin, are supplied by Mercedes. Mercedes have got a share in Aston Martin. From what I'm only surprised if Laurence Show's got some sort of clause in where it's a bit separate. He can do his kind of own thing, break away from the Aston Martin main company, do his own thing, whatever. But yeah, I get your point about the whole breakaway from Mercedes. Who knows? Anything can happen in F1. Anything can happen in F1 when it comes to engines. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with that.
Yeah, most definitely. Not to watch the space on that one for sure. But yeah, okay.